What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? This is your boy Is Nefarious, and I am here for a new series. It is going to be a GM series. It is going to be GM Nef taking on an NHL franchise, and that NHL franchise to start this series is going to be none other than my favorite team in real life, and a team that looks like they might be rebuilding now compared to the past. The Boston Bruins, after they made all these trades at the trade deadline, getting rid of Marchand, getting rid of Coyle, getting rid of Carlo, adding some prospects, adding some draft picks. They really hit the reset button basically on this team. You still have some of the top end talent like David Pastrnak, Jeremy Swayman. You have Charlie McAvoy. You still have Hampus Lindholm. You have some of these guys that are still here, and I think guys that you could build around. Elias Lindholm, all that. We're gonna have GM firing on. We're gonna have owner mode on. We actually turn it off to start, but later on in the episode, you'll see we turn it back on. We want to be a pure GM. It's gonna be a pure GM type of series. At the beginning, we edit the lines, trying to make it identical to what we're doing in real life, so we kind of get a natural type of finish to the season. Unfortunately, we can't do the injuries and stuff like that, so Hampus Lindholm will play, McAvoy will be healthy, things like that to really set up this franchise. But going into it, we're gonna edit all these settings. We're gonna start with the goal scoring, the skim scoring engine on low. We're gonna have the draft classes on low. We're gonna edit our own lines. We're gonna have the sim shot setting on low, like the amount of shots that we face and things like that. And what we're gonna do is not even touch really anything to start. We're just going to sim all the way to where we are as of the day I did this. We were actually at the end of the trade deadline, going into the game against Tampa Bay. So that's where we're gonna fast forward to once we get this sim going. As you can see, showing you all the moves that happen. No longer having Carlo. We have Middlestat. We have guys like Mizul, guys like Mitten that we got in the trade. We also got Will Zellers. We got all the prospects and all the draft picks and new players on the team. Kuznetsov, Lauko, guys like that. And I'm just showing you everybody we have. We have Myron Berg, we have Johansson, we have a bunch of guys that we really have question marks about. This team's biggest question mark is what are they going to do in the future defensively? They don't have a lot of top tier talent defensively. They have some top tier talent like Letourneau. Offensively, Mitten, Patras, you got Zellers, who looks like he's going to be pretty solid as well. You got a bunch of different talent offensively, but what are we going to do defensively? Don't really have anything that is, something to look forward to when it comes to defense. We did add Mizul and we got Brunet and things like that, but there's plenty of question marks when it comes to that defense. Offensively, when it comes to the main roster, there's a bunch of stuff we got to talk about. Are we going to bring back some of these guys? As we show Marchand on the Panthers, we show Coyle on the Avalanche, and then we're going to show Carlo over here on the Maple Leafs. So all three of them get into their respectful teams. And now, what are we going to do with these signs? What are we going to do with Morgan Geekie? What are we going to do with the no movement clause of Elias Lindholm? What are we going to do with the Zadorov contract that is really bad in game? Are we going to be able to MacGyver some of this stuff and get a good showing from the team? And as you can see, the owner goals, they want us to make it round one of the playoffs. They want 40 wins. They want us to build a new parking lot, and they also want us to upgrade our parking by one level. And remember, we are doing these owner goals and trying to make sure we don't get fired because the GM firing's on. And if you don't do these owner goals and stuff like that, you'll have some issues. And we have Jim Montgomery as a coach. We got to actually change that. I don't know what he's doing there. But Jim Montgomery has to go. But we're going to do this conversation. I like the whole conversation aspect they've added to franchise mode on top of no trade clauses, no movement clauses that you could add into contracts to kind of help with negotiations. So we just discussed some of that. We get what we want out of the preseason, also what we want from the season, which is make the playoffs and also, you know, get some extra stats. And we're going to fire our coach there. Jim Montgomery's going to get fired, and we're going to go with Faith. Let Faith take over as the interim head coach. They don't have Joe Sacco or anything like that, so we can't get him. So, and the other thing, the key to this series that I forgot to mention, we are going with no scouts. This is no scouts at all. I feel like it makes it a little bit easier when you get the scouts to kind of pick talent. We're going to go off stats and name and things like that and see if we could build a team, build teams like that. And as you can see, we just fired all our scouts. So we're going to have 0 scouts. The good news is once they're on the team, you kind of get a feel of how good they are, no matter if you have a scout or not, which is good. So once we get them aboard, we could kind of see if we hit or miss on these prospects. So we got the lineup. We're going to set the lineup exactly the way it is in real life at this time, which was, you know, I think last week. You have Kusnadinov on that second line with Lindholm and Lauko. You got Middlestat on that third pairing with Laterry and Kepke. And the one thing that's going to change is we're going to have our 2 top defensemen, as you saw there, with Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm. So we can't really do the injuries there, so we got to stick with what we got. And going through the sim, we're 2-3. We're gonna have the whole season with this roster, so it's gonna be a little different from the normal Bruins. Maybe better, maybe worse. We really don't know. And we're still getting trades, as you can see here, because even though CPU versus CPU and CPU trading's off, they're still able to send trades to us. So 5-8-2. A couple months into it, we're under 500, which we want to be. We kind of want to be where we are in real life. See if we can mimic that a little bit. Based on the sim, it's trending in that direction as we're sitting there at 12, 13, and 3 after a few months. So the team is actually performing decently here as they go up to 16, 14, and 3, 16, 15, and 3. So we're actually getting on a little win streak, which we don't like, because we want this team to get some draft picks. We want this team to have high draft picks as well. But it looks like we might even make the playoffs with this team based on the way it's trending right now. So this team, if they overachieve, really put a wrench into the rebuild or the retool because we won't get that high draft pick. And we do like the pieces we have. Kusnadinov's a nice piece. I like Lauko. I really like Lauko. Middlestat's a nice piece. So we got some decent pieces in the NHL, but we are really hurting in that top 6 with only Lindholm, Pasternak, and Zacha. Zacha is a second liner. Lindholm's also a second liner, and Pasta's the only pure first liner that we have as we get closer to the trade deadline. You could see it doesn't really matter what we are. We're not trading. 32-24, 32-26 and 8, 32-26 and 8 with 74 points. We on 4th place in the Atlantic, right here where we're starting the sim, which is the date that we were supposed to be at. So in a good spot right now. We're in a really good spot. Now we could kind of do the lines the way we want to. That's not, you know, going side by side with the NHL and the way it is in real life. So we're going to switch some things around here. You can see we put Middlestat on the third line. We're probably not going to keep him there. We got Kusnadinov going to that second line. And it looks like actually we are just going back to the normal lines because the coach, we have the coach doing the lines and he went back to a different set. So we just turned it back to what we had in real life. So I misspoke. I thought we would, this is when we would change it around, but we didn't. You got us moving some people around. We got a lot of the rookies up, like Patras, Wallstrom. We want to send them down. We want them to develop because we're not investing in this team too much this season. So we're just going to play the veterans, guys that we don't really have to worry about stunting any of their growth. Lorai is going to play that first pair with McAvoy. You got Lindholm and Jokiharju. You got Zadorov on that third pair. As you can see, we're going through some of the strategies, going through the goalie. You got Swayman, who's going to be our #1 for a long time with that contract. He's got a no movement clause that kicks in season and a couple season as well. So we got to worry about that. We got the AHL. We just allowed the head coach to do the preferred lines in this. We're not even going to mess with that too much. The NHL will probably deal with for now, and then as we get further into the series, we'll start to let the coach deal with the lines. So let's continue the sim. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can we make a playoff game? We lost 4-0 right after we jumped to the sim to this date. Lost 4-0, so not looking good. Taking a look at some of the stats though, you got Pasternak, who's got 43 goals and 37 assists. He's got 80 points. You got Lindholm, who's got 18 goals, 39 assists for 57. Zacha with the exact same stat line. Middlestat with 12 and 31 and 43. So you got a couple of guys. Geeky's got 41 points himself, not on the 30 goal pace that he is in real life, but putting up points. You got some of the younger guys that we want to see more points out of. Kuznetsov doesn't have much there. The goalies, you're looking at Korpisalo, who has a 9.28 and a 2.32 goals against average. He's playing really well. Swayman with a 9.10 and a 2.96 goals against average. So we got some goalies playing some top tier hockey. That's because we have the low on the settings. Bennington's leading the league with a save percentage of 9.40. You got Stuart Skinner with 9.32. A 198. You could see by these goalie numbers, the low really kind of brings it back to the dead puck era of hockey. So but I do like the low just because it keeps the progression of forwards down. I feel like when you have it high, they progress a lot faster just because of the stats. You could see there that our Pasternak is leading the league in scoring. That's probably why we're in a playoff spot right now. Macklin Celebrini is the #1 rookie with points. You got Michkov, who's right behind him with 35. Celebrini with 41 is not crazy, but a decent little season to start off his career. And we're going to just jump into back into the sim. As you can see, we're going to go day by day. We got the Sabres up next. We are 33, 27 and 8. Not bad. 74 points still. We lose that game 3-0. Definitely a tough loss. We gotta try to make the playoffs because that's one of our owner goals, even though in real life I probably don't want them to make the playoffs. I love watching playoff hockey, but if we're being realistic about the team and in real life, and not necessarily somebody that will compete in the playoffs. If they do, it would be a miracle Cinderella run. So we're gonna do some line changes once again, getting away from the real life aspect. This is what I was alluding to. In the future, you got Middlestat, I'm gonna put on that second line. You got Lauko and Geeky on the side of him. You got Zacha, Lindholm, and Pasta on that first line. You got Kepke actually moving to the right wing on that second line, just to add that +1 into the chemistry, because you want to get those chemistries up. You want to get that +2 overall, that +1 overall, get that boost to all your players if you can. You got Letary that we're trying to find a good spot for. Beecher's on that fourth line with Brown and Kostelik. You could see us move maybe Brown, or not Brown, but more so Beecher, but we're going to leave it the way it is for now and leave the defensive pairings. I think the defensive pairings look good. Now, looking at some of the player stats once again, wanted to take a look at the AHL. So you got Merkulov there, who has 36 points in 59 games. You got Lysell, who in 59 games has 29 points. Mitten not putting up a lot of points, but that's because they had him in the NHL when we were doing the sim. So now that he's back in the AHL, he's got 1 game played. He's got 3 points in that 1 game, already turning up and already playing really well. Only 1 game for Wallstrom as well. You got a few games for Patras. A couple of guys that were in the NHL when we were doing our sim that wasn't really benefiting from being in the AHL and getting some stats and being able to develop a little bit more. We're gonna sim once again. We lost to the Knights. We're here against the Sharks. We beat the Sharks 7-0, so our playoff hopes are still alive. We're gonna lose to the Kings to follow that. The Ducks coming up next. We are just outside of a wild card spot with 77 points. If we win against the Ducks, that would be a good start. So we win, we move up to the fourth place in our division. After another game, we are actually dropping to 6th place as the teams fighting for the wild card spot keep going back and forth. And right now in a wild card spot with 81 points, we got 35 wins, 28 losses, and 9 overtime losses. So having a really good season. A better season than we expected. And I just want to take a look at some of the progression that we have so far with this team. Letourneau, what a progression for Letourneau. 23 points modified. You got 19 from Myronberg. You got 15 from Harrison. You got Kuntar, who has 15 as well. You got Brunet, who's got a good little development there. You can see a lot of natural growth, a little morale. You know, regression, but nothing too crazy. Myronberg with a lot of natural growth, a little bit of the morale. Once again, that I don't think that Providence team is playing too well at this time. Letourneau, though, all natural growth, growing into that power forward that we will love to have come 2 or 3 seasons down the road, depending on how quick he develops. But based on this, it looks like he's going to be developing at a fast rate. Brunet is a left defenseman that we have some promise in. Only top 6. It's crazy when you say, oh, this is a promising defenseman in the team and their potential is top 6. You're kind of like, well, how good is that? You could see Kuznetsov with 13 points in progression, which is nice. You want him to progress as well. He could potentially jump into a second line left wing, or maybe you'll just stay in the third line. And we got Yokiharu, who needs a contract. So we're going to go into contract negotiations here, and we're going to give him 5 years. We're going to give him 5 years, and I think he's a really solid 2D second pair defenseman. So that being said, looking at some of the Puckpedia contracts, you will see a lot of, you know, top 9 guys, a lot of veteran guys in the top 4 defensemen. They'll get clauses, so they'll get a no trade clause, mostly modified no trade clause with a X amount of teams they can't be traded to. As you can see, we're going to offer him the modified no trade clause. We want it to be a I think we're gonna go with reduced, if I remember correctly. Reduced is always better to go to, just because you at the beginning you got the high amount of teams while you're kind of invested, and then towards the end it'll fall off a little bit, and usually that's when you kind of want to get rid of this player, or, you know, down on the downslope of his career. So we're gonna go with the modified no trade clause. We're gonna go with 12 teams, and then it's gonna drop down to 8. So he's gonna have that. Hopefully he signs, as you can see, 12 12 12 and then 8 and 8 in the last 2 years. I think 4.125 million is a solid number for a number 2 right-handed defenseman. I think that's a really good number, and I actually hope they do re-sign Yokiharu in real life. I think he's a solid defenseman. So we're gonna go ahead and offer this contract to Yokiharu, well deserving of that. Hopefully he signs. He'll let us know in a few days if he's gonna sign or not. As far as anybody else we're gonna sign, nobody we really see on the offense. We got a bunch of RFAs, which we'll wait until actual re-signs to talk to. We got Yokiharu we just offered to, like we said. There's no UFAs we really want to offer right now. Maybe Bussy. Bussy is a solid goalie. Maybe he will be our backup if we're able to move Corposalo's contract. So let's talk to him. I want to offer him a 2-way. He does not want a 2-way. He says no thank you to the 2-way. If you're not going to take a 2-way, I don't really want to offer you right now, because I don't think you're going to be in the NHL. You potentially can be, but I don't think so. As you can see, we get the same owner goals. We need that at 40 wins. Right now, we're at 37. We're at 3 more wins, and we get that. The parking lot we gotta go ahead and get an extra parking lot, and as you can see, we're gonna go in and we're gonna put on we're gonna turn off the auto GM, because we want to be able to manage our budget and upgrade our parking lot. So we're gonna go into our operations budget. We're gonna turn down some of this, like the advertising, the scout salaries for sure, scout travel, we don't have any scouts, and then we're gonna put it all into arena operations, because we want to get enough money so we could go ahead, buy that new parking lot, also upgrade the parking lot we have. So boom, we're gonna buy this new parking lot. 80 construction days is fine. I'd even realized that in the past that you could do the construction days, and we're gonna upgrade that first parking lot. So boom, 2 tasks done. We're on pace to get them all done in season 1, which is good. That will help us get confidence with our owner, and potentially won't get fired. So we're gonna sim against the Capitals. We ended up losing 3-1 there. Definitely a tough loss. Still trying to make those playoffs. 81 points. We are 2 points out of a wild card spot, chasing the Canadians, who we got up next. And as you can see, Yoki is going to accept our offer, so that's a good sign. Yoki is going to be that second pair, right D, right behind McAvoy, which I think is really good for the team we're trying to build. Jumping into the sim, you're going to see we take a 4-3 lead against Montreal, who is ahead of us by 2 points. This is going to be a huge win if we're able to get it. You see Middlestat, Pasternak, a couple guys that we like to see getting on the board. 5-5, we tie it. We going into overtime and we lose in a shootout. So we still get a point, but the team in front of us gets 2 points, which is always a bad thing. So hopefully we turn it around a little bit more and go on a nice winning streak, because we are chasing the wild card right now. 2-1 after 1 against Carolina. After 2, it's 2-1. Going into the third, we were able to end it 2-1 with a win, which is a huge win for us. Those playoff dreams are still alive. Pasternak, Middlestat, and Lindholm all score in the first period against Buffalo. Huge offense so far. 3-3 from both sides, 4-3 after 2, and going into the third, can we come back and win it? We do tie it. Lindholm scores to tie it. McAvoy scores in overtime. We get the win, a much needed win, as Lettieri is actually going to go down for us. We have the injuries set pretty high. We like to have injuries in our franchise. We like to add the whole aspect of managing a team, and as you can see, managing the team, we do not have enough forwards, so we have to call somebody up, and we got a bunch of options. Patras has been in a forward, but Wahlstrom has also been in the NHL, so we have 2 guys that have been in the NHL. Wahlstrom is waiver eligible though, so we got to keep that in mind as we're going to call up Wahlstrom here to take over that right wing on that second line. We think he's deserving of it, so we're going to call up Wahlstrom. He's going to go on that second line, but we got to keep him in the NHL, just because if we send him down, he's going to go through waivers, and we don't want to waive Wahlstrom at this time. Even though he might not get re-signed, we want to keep that option open. So we bring up Wahlstrom, we put him on that second line with Middlestat and Geeky. Hopefully that adds some extra offense, some extra pop to that line. We're going to mess with the power play a little bit. It was a little out of whack. We got McAvoy there, but we're going to switch him out for a left-hander, probably Casey Middlestat. I think that would be a better fit. Going back, Casey Middlestat's going to go in this line. You're going to have Lindholm in the middle with Zacha kind of being that net front presence. You're going to have Pasternak on his top of the circle spot where he likes to be for that one-timer. I think that's a good little power play. We don't have a lot of top-end talent, but I think that's a solid power play with Middlestat, who's creative, and then you got Pasternak. The second power play is kind of where it falls off. We don't have a lot to work with. This is kind of where you see this team in its shortcomings. We got guys like Kusnadinov, who is solid but not quite ready. Beecher and Geeky, a couple more guys that aren't quite there, and then you got Wahlstrom kind of teeing up that one timer on the left hash. So not the best of power plays when it comes to that second line. We're just going to edit the 4-man power play. Pretty simple, not much we're going to do. Put Zacha out there. We're going to have Lindholm, and then we're going to have Pasternak. That second line is going to have Middlestat on it. Again, showing the shortcomings of this team. Not a lot of depth, not a lot of top 6 guys. You got a very few top 6 guys, and you got a bunch of, third line, borderline, second, type guys trying to fill out a playoff team, or a team trying to make it into playoffs, I should say. So we do our best with the lines. We do our best with the power play, what we could get out of it. It's not going to be, the top power play in the league. But maybe we get some goals from Middlestat. Maybe we get some more development from him as well. As we jump back into the sim, looking at it, 38, 30, and 10. We need 2 more wins to get our final one of our final owner goals. As we take on the New Jersey Devils, after 1, it's 0-0. After 2, it is 4-0. The offense explodes. You got Kusnadinov, you got Geeky and Brown. Kusnadinov with 2 in that period, and we get a 4-0 win against the New Jersey Devils. A big win there, going up to 39 wins. We need 1 more win, and we get our goal completed. 2-0. This is a good start to this game. 4-1. Laura and Wahlstrom add on to it, and 5-2. We finish out the game with a win. So there's our 40 wins. wins, we complete one of our owner goals. And as I said, that's always going to be a number one priority, is try to get these owner goals completed if we can. And take a look at the standings with 2 games left, 40, 30, and 10, and we have 90 points. And then you look at the Providence Bruins. That second shot was the Providence Bruins. Not so hot. They're last in the division, not playing well at all. That Providence Bruins team, we're going to try to treat that with respect and treat it as a owner and want both teams to compete, but that Providence team is not doing it right now. So we're going to sim the last 2 games. Not much that could change. We're pretty much locked for playoffs at this point, as we got a 3-1 lead and a 3-1 victory over against the Devils, giving us 92 points on the season. And with 82 games, we finished 41, 31, and 10 with 92 points, making it into playoffs pretty easily. Weren't sweating in those last 2 games. As you can see, we got our owner goals. We were able to make it to round 1 of the playoffs, and then we were also able to get the 40 wins. So take a look at some of the stats around the league. You got a bunch of point getters. You got Pasternak leading the league, McDavid behind him, Draisaitl, Nylander. You got Austin Matthews, McKinnon, Marner, Stamkos, Reinhart. A lot of the normal names you see. Elias Lindholm actually had a pretty decent season with 70+ points. Take a look at the goalies. You got Wedgwood, who has a 9.22, who's up there with wins. But when it comes to save percentage, you got Alex from the Penguins with a 9.37. Bennington has a 9.36. You got Bennington with a 1.92, and Levi for the Buffalo Sabres also having a really good season. Celebrini is the #1 rookie with points with 49. You got Will Smith behind him, Mitchkov as well, all with 40+ points, but nothing too crazy. Celebrini actually had a nice gap between the 49 and 41, proving that he's the best rookie in the league right now. Taking a look at the standings, you got the Stars, who are the #1 team, followed by the Oilers, the Rangers. So the Stars getting the President's Trophy. You can see a pretty good team with Robertson, Granlund, Rantanen. You got Duchesne, Ben, and Hintz, Marchment, Johnston, and Sagan. You got Blackwell, Steele, and Bork. Really good offense, solid defense as well. You got the Oilers, as you know, with McDavid and Draisaitl, just a really good team. We were taking a look at the ranks, but it really doesn't give us too much information, probably because we don't have the scouts. You got Bouchard and Elcombe on defense. You got Vander Kane, Jeff Skinner, Arvidsson. You got Henrique and Janmark. Take a look at the Predators. They got a really good team with Stamkos, O'Reilly, Marchessault. They're actually outperforming real life. The moves that they took to kind of be a competitor in real life that backfired, they actually worked here. And the Colorado Avalanche, always a good team with McKinnon. They added Charlie Coyle, which is good. You got the Panthers, who got Barkov, Verhaeghe, and Kachuk. Brad Marchand's on that second line with Bennett and Reinhart. You got Luostarinen, Lundell, and Gadjevich. And you got a really good defense with Frosling, Jones, Mikkola, some top tier defensemen there. So they're always going to be a good team there in the playoffs. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning to start off the playoff series. It should be a fun series. Can we come out with a win against the Tampa Bay Lightning? Find out in our next episode, where we take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the playoffs. We'll do all the playoffs. We'll probably do a little bit of re-signs and things like that, or the entry draft. But that's going to do it for this one. Please, if you're enjoying the content, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Your boy is Nefarious, and I am out of here.